Hey, Andy here from builderhottub.com. In this video, we're going to catch up with Scott in Arizona and his DIY hot tub build. So let's go ahead and take a look. Okay, so when we left Scott in the last video, he was finishing up the plumbing around his control room, and then with that plumbing in place, he was then going to turn his attention to the electrics. So he needed to wire in his new pumps, he needed to wire in the new Spa-Pak, the air blower, and configure the whole thing so that it was going to work with the topside control that he's got for his new hot tub. I'll be honest, it's not been plain sailing for Scott. It's been a rough couple of weeks and he's had a huge amount of challenges on the electric side. It's usually the case. Sometimes with a DIY build, it's the plumbing that doesn't quite go to plan, but in Scott's case, it's definitely been the electrics and it has been a challenge. However, there is light at the end of the tunnel. So what happened? Well, basically we needed to wire in the new Spa-Pak. So the new Spa-Pak takes a 230 volt feed. It needs that off the split system. That was already in place. The electrician had already put that in place for Scott. So it was a matter of connecting it up. Now, what Scott couldn't get his head around was the pin configurations for the AMP cables that we needed, the fact that you get different voltages off different pins. It's all a bit strange in terms of the hot tub electrics. It's not quite as straightforward as regular domestic electrics, and Scott was definitely finding it a bit of a challenge. So that's where I come in, and if I'm helping you with your DIY build, if I'm supplying the kit and the designs, then I'm on hand, as I was for Scott, to kind of guide him through. And that's whether it's a phone call, whether it's a video call, and we've had quite a few of those over the last couple of weeks to get things sorted, but he's on the path to completion. Now, before we go any further, always a great opportunity to say please do subscribe to the channel, hit the notification icon to be notified when my videos go live. I do 2 long-form videos just like this every single week, a whole bunch of shorts, and everything on my channel focuses on DIY hot tubs, plunge pools, parts, and pretty much everything in between. So the key to a successful Spa-Pak installation is chasing the voltages around the Spa-Pak. So you've got to start with the main block where the power comes in. You know, are you getting a solid 230 volts off your split system into the pack? So that's the first thing. So that's what we were doing with Scott. We checked that the voltages were there. Next, you want to be checking on the far side of the larger fuses, because the larger fuses are for the electric heater, for the blower, and for the pumps. So are they all in good working order? Now you can kill the power to the breaker, you can obviously test for continuity, or you can check voltages on the far side of those fuses with the probes on your multimeter coming from the main block out to that far side of the fuse. Now, the other thing with Spa-Paks is you can configure them so that they can run with either 230 volt kit or 115 volt kit. Now, if you're over in Europe, then it's all 240 and it's all nice and easy. But in the US, you can have, for example, a 115 volt circulation pump and then a 230 volt jet pump. And that was the setup that Scott actually has. So what we needed to do was we needed to make sure that we had only 115 volts coming out of the circulation pump AMP connector, and then 230 volts for the pumps. The way that works is it's generally a jumper setting. So Scott's on a Balboa BP7 pack. It's one of my favorite Spa-Paks, and it's the one that I use in most of my builds. So moving over the cable from J20, over from group 4, over to group 2, as it says in the circuit diagram, it's pretty straightforward. Doing that allows you then to change the voltage down to 115 volts. What Scott was struggling with was the actual pinouts on those AMP or AMP connectors, and he was looking at them and he just couldn't get it. So I actually wrote a new blog post and I did a video, especially for Scott, and it explains and it shows in great detail exactly how you wire up those AMP or AMP connectors, and I'll put a link to that underneath this video. The other thing that you have to remember with a SparPack is you've got to program it, and you've got to program it so that it knows what's connected. They're not intelligent enough to know exactly what you've plugged into it. So you've got to tell the SparPack, and you do that by on a Gecko pack, it's called lower level programming, and on a Balboa pack, you've got to set the program mode, and you do that with a dip switch one up, and then you go into a engineering menu on the actual top side control. So if you don't have the correct setting on that, like Scott didn't, you don't get the control of, you know, for example, your air blower. It just won't turn on because it doesn't know that you've got one connected. So putting all of these different parts together, so getting the right voltages in, setting the right voltages for the kit that you're connecting, making sure your amp connectors have the right wiring, it's all got to come together, otherwise it's not going to work. So I'm sure you want to know, has it come together for Scott? Well, it certainly has. And as you can see behind me, everything is working, and Scott is actually in his bare concrete brick-walled tub testing it out. He's heated it up, his jets are working, his filtration is working, and everybody is happy. Most of all, Scott. As I said, it's been a rough couple of weeks, so I'm really pleased that we got to the bottom of it and he's all up and running. So what's next? Well, next he's going to drain that down, and then he's got to work on obviously putting the proper finished insides into the tub itself. So you've got to check back soon for an update from Scott's build. Don't forget to subscribe, that way you won't miss any of my videos. If I can help you with your DIY hot tub or plunge pool, please do get in touch. Always happy to hear from you. As always, I appreciate the view. Thanks ever so much for watching, and I will see you on the next video. If you've liked this video, please do like, share and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you on the next video.